And here we are with actor, sculptor extraordinaire, and former U.S. Ambassador to Turkmenistan, Mr. Paul Clemens.
And what an honor it is, may I say, to be interviewed by the late Dr. Lady.
Thank you, sir. Always great to see you. Tell us some of your favorite masks.
Oh boy.
From over the years?
Well, certainly the Pat Newman Don Post classics.
The Pat Newman, like the Universal.
Absolutely. Her Phantom, her Dracula, her Frankenstein, you know, Lugosi Karloff, of course, and the Lon Chaney Senior Phantom. Those would be my three favorite all-time Don Post masks, the Pat Newman.
Did you look at those when you were a kid and think, gee, I'd like to make something like that?
Yeah,
and those
I did. I had them, of course, I had them. They were way too big. They were large anyway, oversized, but when you're a little kid, they're immense. You get lost inside this mask. But yeah, that fired up my imagination. I wanted to make my own masks because of that when I was a kid, yeah.
You did some fantastically nice sculptures for a group called the Halloween Society. Way back in the day.
The late, great Halloween
when
Society.
We were still breathing and ambulatory and all that.
Yes, those were the days.
Back in the 80s.
Yes, exactly.
You did London After Midnight?
I did London. That was my first one.
That was the first one.
You mentioned that, since that was my first. Yep, London After Midnight. Then I can't remember the exact order in which I did them, but I can remember which I did. London After Midnight, Nosferatu, Max Schreck, the Charles Laughton Hunchback of Notre Dame, Quasimodo.
I still have one, by the way.
Oh,
the bust with
there
the
you
full
go.
hump.
Yes, full hump and not just the head.
He's in my living room to this day.
Hey, there we go.
And remember, we're recording this in the year 2029. So it's pretty impressive.
No,
really.
I would say so. And don't I look well for my age?
I wish I did.
The Charles Laughton Hunchback, then also the Boris Karloff Mummy, and then there were two that were sort of special edition. They were Halloween Society, but there weren't as many of them, and they weren't as widely distributed. Those two were the Lon Chaney Jr. Wolfman, and
which was another full bust.
Yeah, down to about there with the shoulders, yeah. And then also the Peter Lorre, Mad Love, Dr. Gogol.
Dr. Gogol.
Dr. Gogol.
There aren't very many of those at all,
No,
are there?
no.
How many? Do you
A
think
handful. I've seen a few, not many.
You couldn't get many in one hand either, because it was a good-sized head.
Yeah.
And you kind of dropped off the mask radar.
I did.
Do you ever get back into that? Do you ever do any sculpting?
I did do a couple pieces I was commissioned to do by Rich Carell for him.
Okay.
And I later wound up working with Rich on several of the Playboy Mansion Halloween extravaganzas. Right. Yes, painted about 500 or so pieces for him for those things.
Wow.
And as I said, sculpted a couple of them.
And some custom sculpts.
Yeah.
Do you remember what?
Yes,
what
I did a custom. Yes, I did a custom sculpt of Reagan from The Exorcist.
All right,
which he
I am
used in
familiar with that one.
Animated display of her in the bed and yeah, very elaborate. Yeah.
Do you foresee any future mask work that people can expect to see from you?
There are rumblings. I'm being approached.
That's just the traffic out here.
Yes, indeed.
Ignore that.
I'm being approached by people who have suggested it might be.
I don't see them.
They're.
Yeah,
they took off. Right. Yes, that was the group who was in here when I.
Oh, was that the people who ran out when you came in?
Exactly. Yes. Well, I have that effect. As do you, I noticed.
I do.
Yes,
we
share that.
It's
yes.
true. They ran for the hills.
That's it. So, there's from time to time I am approached by people who want to resurrect the Halloween Society. And, there's been talk, there's been rumors, that who knows.
But you weren't really the Halloween Society.
No, I was a hired hand.
You were their artist.
Yes, I was their artist. One of three or four sculptors.
Yeah. Joe Reeder.
Joe Dolanich.
Joe Dolanich.
Yeah, and then there may have been one other. I don't know who did every piece. I know Joe Reeder did.
Well, Henry Alvarez did the Metropolis.
Okay, there we go. He did the Metropolis. I forget who did the Curse of the Demon. I forget who did the.
I forget who did the
Golem.
Curse of the Demon.
Yeah.
I should know that.
And the Golem.
I should look it up in my own book.
I know Joe Reeder did the Frederick March, Mr. Hyde.
The Mr. Hyde.
Yeah. So, but anyway,
If somebody put a clay bust in front of you right now, what do you think what would you do with it? Who would you like to do?
well,
what would you sculpt?
oh, I know exactly what I would do.
You know what you would do?
Oh, yes. It hasn't been done to my knowledge, at least not that I've seen. I would like to do a really accurate life-size bust of Edgar Allan Poe.
That, I don't think it has been done.
And I'd like to do it in two ways. I'd like to do it sort of ultra photo real, as you'd see in a wax museum, which could be with punched in hair and glass eyes and all of that. And I would like to do a version that looks as though it were sculpted in bronze, with sculpted hair and sculpted mustaches.
That would be nice.
A bronze, both.
So Edgar Allan Poe, which I believe you had.
I portrayed.
You had a one-man show.
A one-man play called Edgar Allan Poe, Once Upon a Midnight. Although when I did it, I believe it was called Once Upon a Midnight, The Confessions of Edgar Allan Poe.
The Confessions.
The title changed later when I optioned the show to John Aston of Addams Family fame, and he did the show for 10 years, around about 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, all over the world. He did it in Ireland and Scotland and Australia and all over the U.S.
That's interesting. I never heard.
Beautifully, yeah.
I had no idea. How long were you doing it?
For a couple of years.
A couple of years.
Yeah, I did it on stage for a 4-month run. I did a television version of it, of highlights version, about an hour long for a cable station. And then I basically put it on the back burner because I was doing a bunch of other acting projects.
Oh,
so
you put stuff on the back burner.
I hope
the power wasn't on.
The power was not on, so it was preserved. And and a couple of years later, I ran into John Aston, whom I had known as a kid. I went to school with his kids, two of his sons, Alan and David. And it's funny, growing up, both the mother from the Munsters and the father from the Addams Family were parents of schoolmates. I went to school with Yvonne DiCarlo's son, Morgan. So I have a very funny story about her. Her customized car, her Jaguar, made customized for her by George Barris.
She seems to have been a great lady.
She was
wonderful. I never knew her, but it seems like everybody loved her.
This is the story that will tell you what a great lady she was. She knew I was a fan of the show. And here I am being picked up to go and with Morgan, go to her house, and we're just gonna play. And he's in the back seat. I get to sit in the front seat next to his mom. And now, of course, she's not dressed as Lily Munster, but here's this amazing car with cobweb hubcap decals, funeral handlebars, gray silk funeral curtains in the windows. And best of all, instead of the Jaguar, the usual Jaguar logo, on the front of the car, of the running Jaguar, the George Barris had put on there instead a silver wolf's head with red ruby eyes, which, when the car ignition was turned on, would light up.
The eyes lit up. How cool fantastic. Is that? That's incredible.
So I'm being picked up.
She kept that car, didn't she?
Yeah, for years. Years. I don't know what eventually became of it, but yeah, she kept that car. And so she picks me up in that car, and I'm like, whoa. And I get to sit in the front seat next to her while her son Morgan is sitting in the back seat. And we're driving to their house, and midway there, it starts to rain. And I'm not kidding you, she opens up the frickin' sunroof, rain starts pouring into the car, she holds up her hand and she goes, what lovely weather. Now,
that's devotion, that's commitment.
Is that cool or what? Amazing. I mean, is that cool? So that tells you a little bit about what Yvonne DiCarlo
you were
was
7,
like.
were you like...
About 7 or 8, yeah.
What was your...
I was blown away. Of course, my God, I was doing something,
that is amazing.
It's just amazing. And by contrast, John Aston is funny. I go to school with the kid of the mother from the Munsters and
Mrs.
the sons
Munster and
Mr. Adams.
Yeah,
exactly. How good is that for a Munster kid, like of the 60s like me? So I'm in Nirvana. So anyway, I would go frequently and spend weekends at the Aston home. And that's when he was married to Patty Duke, who I call Anna. When his kids would misbehave, of course I didn't, I was a little angel.
Of course.
But when his sons, one or the other would misbehave, he would order us into his den, close the door, sit us down, and proceed to basically bore us to death with a lecture on behavior, which would last 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh my goodness.
I'll tell you, by the end of that, I was going, can he please just spank us and get it over? But a great guy, and he's like family to me.
And he wanted his kids to behave and be nice people and
Yeah.
fly straight and all that.
Well, he didn't want them doing whatever it was we'd been getting up to anyway.
He didn't want you bringing them down, is what you're saying. Was
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
And what is the title of that project?
My new
more
project?
recent project?
Yes, newer than the Beast Within, you mean?
Newer than the Beast Within, even.
Yes. That would be the horribly slow murderer with the extremely inefficient weapon.
Which I may get my vote. That may get my vote for best title ever.
Well,
Yeah, that's
mine too. Directed by a brilliantly talented wunderkind fellow named Richard Gale. And the film has won 20 or so, no, a dozen, I should say, a dozen major film festival awards all over the world. Germany, Korea, Canada. We won the Fantasia Festival in Canada. Best short film in the entire festival. We were competing.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. We were competing against 200 short films, and we came
And imagine
first.
the fun, the sheer joy of translating that title into Korean.
It's been done. It's been done. It's been done in many languages, and now just recently voted by Rue Morgue magazine as the best short film of 2009.
Wow, fantastic.
And it's on YouTube now, so you can all go
Was
see
gonna
it.
be my next question. Where can people see it?
It's in beautiful HD on YouTube. It's 10 minutes long. It can be seen on YouTube. The film is done as a movie trailer. It's a trailer for a movie that doesn't actually exist except as a trailer. And you'd be amazed, the comments on YouTube, how many people say, God, I hate it when trailers give away the ending.
Sooner or later, somebody will contact you to make the full-length feature of
Oh, they've been begging us to make the...
it. Yeah.
The good thing is there is a deluxe DVD edition coming out with a whole bunch of extra stuff that was not in the original film. And we shot enough footage to make a full-length feature. It was 22 days of shooting for a 10-minute movie. Do the math. I mean, there was so much stuff.
Are people going to be able to get a DVD that's 9 hours of Peter Jackson style behind it, and the film is 10 minutes?
Dr. Lady, it is fascinating that you said 90 minutes because, 9 hours, I'm sorry.
9 hours.
You said 9 hours, very apropos, because in the movie, in the trailer, it says that the movie has, the supposed movie, has a running length of over 9 hours.
I called it.
So, yeah, you did, yes.
I need to see that. Everybody needs to look for that on YouTube. The horribly
slow murderer with the extremely inefficient weapon. But if you just look up horribly slow murder, it'll come right up.
Chances are there aren't a lot of YouTubes called
horribly slow murderer. No.
It works better when you say it slowly, doesn't it?
The horribly slow murderer. It does. It just flows off the tongue like molasses.
I wonder how many people have seen that now are like, oh yeah, I saw that movie.
Well, a lot of people at this convention have seen the movie, apparently. They're all coming up to me.
Awesome.
Raving about it. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for putting up with our nonsense.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to have put up with it.
Great to see you.
You too, sir.
And make more horribly slow movies.
I intend to.